All right, Rory, I appreciate you jumping on to the podcast with us today. And so we just have a lot to unpack. So I want to jump right into it. So for the audience, can you give some context of how long you've been in business, where do you sell real estate, and a little bit about your production?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Rory McDonald. I'm an agent with eXp Realty here in Metro Detroit. I have a team that operates out of Metro Detroit called MacDown Associates. I have a broker's license here in the state, and I've been in the business for just under 5 years now. And as far as production goes, I started off as a part-time agent. I was a teacher. I was a special education teacher in Oxford, Michigan, and was there for about 3 years and realized that I needed some other means of being able to have additional income coming in, and was really physically tired of working construction. And I have a couple kids and wanted to be home with them and continue to be able to pick them up when I got home. So looked into real estate, got my real estate license in the middle of winter. And just started kind of hitting the ground running with having conversations with people and going from there. My first year, just in terms of production, my first year, I think I did in the ballpark like $2.5 million in sales as a part-time agent. And then fast forward to that summer after I had gotten my license, my wife and this is kind of a crazy story. I don't know if I shared this with you or not, Brandon, but I felt like God woke me up in the middle of the night and said, "Hey, I want you to quit your job." And I was like, dude, there's not a chance in the world that is happening. I need the income. I need consistency. I need the life or insurance. Like there's so many different things. Right. And so it's kind of funny, denied that for a while. And then my wife wakes me up just a few days later and is like, "Hey, it's going to sound crazy, but I feel like God's telling me to tell you to quit your job." And so at that point we couldn't deny it. We spent 30 days. We didn't talk about it. We just prayed and really figured out what we felt like God was leading us to do, and jumped into it full time soon thereafter. After sharing with a principal that she didn't hire a crazy person, but God told me to quit my job as a
that's
teacher.
So funny. Yeah. And when did you actually transition into full time?
What year are you asking?
Yeah. How long ago was that?
I want to say that was November of 2018.
Okay.
December 2018, something like that.
So you take literally the leap of faith, right? And you and your wife are like, all right, this is the right thing to do. You take a big risk that a lot of people find themselves wanting to do. They never do it because of the stability of the paycheck and the 401k and this, that, and the other thing. You did it. Walk us through what that first year was like, because you did, I mean, as a part-time agent, you were doing $2.5 million. I'm really curious, when the paycheck was gone, when the benefits were gone, where the health insurance was gone, and it was all on your shoulders, what was that year like?
So my first year going full-time, so curious or crazy that you asked this, because my birthday is January 1st. And on January 1st, I can remember I was the only one in the office that was there making for sale by owners and expired calls. And I previously knew that was like the way to kickstart your business. So on my drive home from Oxford to Mount Clemens, where my wife and I lived, I would be making for sale by owner calls in the car straight from Zillow. And so jumped into it January of 2019, going full time. In that year, I had done, I think it was about $5.5 million that first year. It was in the ballpark, like 26 transactions. Essentially had doubled my business, and then really continued to kind of hone in on skills and things like that, which led to year 3 being, I think, just under 10 million in adjusted rate or whatever.
Sure.
Sales.
Yeah. I mean, that's phenomenal. And so that in 2019, 5.5 million, 26 deals represented, I would imagine, more income than you were generating as an educator. Would that be fair?
Plenty more. It's not hard to beat as a $35,000 full-time teacher. It's not crazy easy to beat that. Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, by the way. That's probably a whole nother episode, but I mean, it's ridiculous. So you generate that first full year, probably a good 6-figure net income to the household. Then the following year, you almost double again, go to almost 10 million. What was the business model back then? How were you generating leads? How are you getting new clients?
My biggest thing is just it revolves around conversations and meeting people. So I'd wake up in the morning and I would kind of do this little journaling thing that I would do every morning, and I basically just kind of, in a lot of ways, ask God, where do you want me today? Do you want me on the phones? Do you want me calling for sale by owners, or is there a specific shop? Is there a specific coffee shop that I need to go to, and intentionally have conversations with people while at those places? It led to probably 3 to 5 days a week I was on the phone, anywhere between 2 and 4 hours a day, really hammering for sale by owners more than anything, and following up with people too. So that's the other thing too, that I think a lot of people, that honestly I could have probably done better in my first two years full time, is following up with past clients. I don't think that a lot of times you close the deal and you're so focused on the next one that you forget to go back and say, hey, I just want to remind you, hey, let's go grab coffee, let's go grab a drink, let's have lunch, let's have breakfast together, and just keep that conversation, or not the conversation, but keep that relationship kind of flourishing in a sense, so that they know who I was as a real estate agent in the area.
Yeah, I mean, that was the same mistake I made, and I've shared that with you guys many times. Is that you're exactly right. You get into this hunter mentality of like, just hunt, kill, hunt, kill, hunt, kill, bring food in, and yeah, I mean, I told you before, that was probably that is my biggest regret of my real estate career, is neglecting the database for too long. That maybe 5 years ago has been a much bigger priority. And so you do 10 million. We'll talk more about that in a second. But then I don't know how long ago it was, but you got this idea of, hey, I want to build a team. And so I want to really help people. I want to break this down, Rory, step by step. So first, how did you get the idea that you wanted to build a team in the first place?
Yeah. So one of the things that I at a previous brokers that I was at, one of the things that I noticed that was lacking and really needed to be honed in on is the training of individual agents to give them the resources and the tools in order for them to become high producers, so that they're not similar to how I was, scraping by as a W-2 worker. One of the things that I really was passionate about was teaching. And so I was like, how do we have these two worlds kind of collide? Take my love for real estate and sales and my love for education and teaching people, and how do I have those two things kind of coincide? And so it led to the start of a team where I would basically train people similar to how it is that you're doing, but it was in person. I would train people conversations around for sale by owners. We do script conversations every day, conversations around the listing appointment, and really honing in on skills so that people can go in and actually know how to close someone, not necessarily just to get the deal, but in such a way to where you're not coming across as this terrible salesman that walks in the room and is sliding a pen and a piece of paper across to somebody. So that's really how it began, is filling in a lot of ways a need that I think exists within our industry of not training people well when it comes to creating a sustaining business. It's more so focused on, let me show you how to do the paperwork. Let me show you where your desk is. Let me show you how to check out a sign. Let me show you know what I mean? Like all of those different things. And so that's really where my heart was in starting the team.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. You probably touched on one of the main problems in our industry. Now there is a lot that goes into building a team. Now that you've kind of been through that whole thing, I really want to unpack, like, because you just shared the mindset of what led you to starting the team, knowing what you know now. What were some of the things that you would look back and say, oh, I was pretty naive here. Maybe I didn't give this enough thought, or I didn't think this part through. What were some of the big painful moments now after going through that experience that you might share with somebody thinking about starting a team?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I mean, I wrote a few different things down. The one big thing that I noticed more than anything is I expected the members of my team, although they were their own individual agent that were going through this year of training that would eventually go on their own. Um, I had the expectation that they had the same drive that I did, and they cared about this as much as I did. And I started to realize very, very quickly that not everybody did, and that's okay. That's fine. But when I'm pouring my heart into certain trainings, it's certain ways how to go in and make a career out of selling homes here in the state of Michigan, I kind of have the expectation that you care about this too. And when you don't, now it comes across as if in a lot of ways, and I say this, respectfully, comes across as if I'm wasting my time in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And if I were to go back and change anything, I think, and I'm actually in the process of doing this right now, but kind of restructuring the team to revolve around individual tasks that exist within the real estate transaction, and not necessarily just creating a high functioning, high quality real estate agent to go out there and do $10 million a year on their own. Because that was the
Yeah,
other thing too. I was realizing more and more as what I was doing was working, and I was creating a ton of competition in the market of
that's
really,
right.
really good real estate agents, which, hey, it's all good. I love them and I'm still friends with them, but dang, man, we've had two $7 million producers come through our team, and two other $5 million producers just in the last 3 years. So like, or excuse me, 2 years. So yeah, that was the other piece that if I were to go back and look at, I'd kind of just shake myself a little bit and go, hey, dude, do you know what you're doing?
Right. So lots to talk about there. So there's two schools of thought where it comes to like building teams, right? There's one that suggests, hey, I can go build essentially a hybrid brokerage, right? I'm going to
Yeah,
build a business. The idea, the fantasy, we'll call, and people do it. I'm not taking this away. People do it, but there's a lot of pain that comes with it, and that is going to build a team of these real estate agents who sell real estate that so that one day I won't have to sell real estate and I can go make a bunch of money off of other people. But in doing so, what ends up happening most of the time is these team leaders, as you've experienced, just end up training their competition because these agents, once you give them the keys to the kingdom and they start becoming successful, they say, well, wait a minute, Rory, why wouldn't I just go do this on my own? And so that's that side. And that's kind of what you experience, right?
100%. And to go along with what it is you're saying too, like the pain that exists behind it is not just a financial pain. Reality is
Right.
when you're doing business, you get friends. There are people that become true, real good friends in the midst of this. And when they leave and they choose to go on their own, it's not necessarily that you're losing your top producer, you're losing your friend.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing that was super, in a lot of ways heart wrenching, in a lot of ways for me.
Yeah,
And
and I think that when I coach a real estate agent who says I want to build that model out, although we're going to talk about the other model that I think both you and I subscribe more to. If somebody wants to build that first model, I say, okay, let's build in the model your churn. Let's not be naive and think Bob and Tom and Sue are going to be with you for the next 25 years. Let's build
right,
in a churn where we know they're going to be gone within 20 months. And so let's just build that into the model. And so that's probably the hardest part about any new leader that is going to open a brokerage firm or that's going to open up a team or anything like that is it's not that it's just that they don't think about the turnover. They don't want to
right.
put that on the business plan, right? And so that's one side. The other side is to build what we call a production-based model. And this is what I have also learned in my own experience is that as real estate agents, we can build a model similar to that of, let's call it an attorney or a doctor, where it's built around our personal production and the team members that are surrounding us, to your point earlier, are focused on taking as much off of our plate as possible so that we can just focus on surgery. And in our world, it's the highest dollar producing activities, whether that be voice to voice conversations or in person interactions. And so That's the model that you've now shifted to. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So, um, going back to your question before, and this is kind of playing into what it is you're saying now, if there's anything that I would have done differently when it came to the idea of starting a team, I would not have hired a buyer's agent first, or hired or brought on somebody to be an additional agent that's listing homes or taking out
Sales. You would
purchasers.
not have hired a salesperson first. Yep.
100%, nothing to do with that, but strictly just bringing on somebody who's an administrative, doing the tasks that are necessary and are difficult in a lot of ways because of the time that they take, but bringing on an administrative person to take care of those tasks, which I've since shifted over to, now bringing somebody on to do that. My wife actually got licensed, and she's our admin here at MacDon. So yeah, that's taking steps in the right direction in a lot of ways, and it's increased business already. We've only had her on for, I think it's about 4 months now. So yeah.
That's great. Well, the idea, so the idea for the audience that will listen or watch this replay, the idea is we've got all these different tasks, right? And the reality is most real estate agents are spending most of their time on things that don't drive revenue. So the whole goal with the model that you and I are talking about is to surround yourself with administrative type people. We can call them nurses, nurse practitioners, right? That can take as many of those non-dollar productive activities off the plate so that the rainmaker or the team leader can just do the things that drive revenue. This is how we see real estate agents really start to build wealth, to really drive their income, because they can say, if they're going to work, call it 50 hours a week, as you know, instead of spending 10 hours in revenue generating activities, maybe they can spend 25 hours a week. And with your skills, that's probably what you're experiencing in that increase in production. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. That's, for me, it's getting in front of people and being face to face, particularly with people who are listing homes, is where I spend most of my time, or tried to spend most of my time. And so being able to open up my schedule in a lot of ways to dedicate to that has been pretty monumental. Pretty monumental in our business in the last couple of months, for sure. Yeah.
So let's break down the business today. All right. So let's just start at the top. Let's kind of unpack maybe what are the major lead pillars that are generating the most business for you guys.
Yeah. So right now, it's past clients is number one. 100%. We've dedicated a lot of time just to following up with past clients, having conversations around them, not just their own individual home, but asking for referrals too. That's another thing that I think a lot of agents get scared of, is they don't ask for the referral. And so definitely past clients has been number one. Number two has been for sale by owners. We dedicate a lot of time to for sale by owners, and even in the crazy market that we were in during COVID, we converted and really began a lot of really awesome relationships with some people who were just trying to save money when it came to selling their house, and help them out in that way. We've touched on expireds a little bit. We kind of struggled with those, not having the greatest of luck with them, but they are still one of our main pillars. And then the fourth one is social media. So Facebook and Instagram primarily, but dedicating a lot of time to putting out consistent and quality content that people can use, regardless of whether or not they choose to work with us. So
Love it.
sometimes there's this idea that I need to hold on to this information. If you want it, come and get it, but you got to sign up an exclusive right to sell or a buyer agency contract. No. I listen. Here's the information. I'm free. I'm open. Come and talk to me. You're welcome to come have a conversation and work with us. But yeah, those are the three. To answer your question, those are the three main or four main areas where we're finding the most business.
Got it. So what does the team look like these days? Like, I know you've gone through some restructuring. What does that look like today?
So right now we have, like I said, we have my wife who's here as the admin. And then we have two other people who are on the team. Lily Mezek, who is kind of a buyer's agent. She still calls on new listings and things like that. And then the other person is Ty Walker, who is buyer's agent, but primarily what he's focusing on is inside sales agent. So calling and setting additional appointments for me to go on listings, so that we can just add more listings to the database and open up the possibility of additional clients, both on the buy side and on the sell side with those.
Yeah, I mean that what you just outlined is a really really good team from the standpoint of once they are all optimized. It sounds like you've got somebody focused on the buyer side of the business, so that when we generate that, we've got someone to delegate that to. You've got your wife who can handle the operations of the team, and then you've got somebody that's helping you on the lead generation side with this small kind of team with a narrow focus. What is the goal next year production wise?
Yeah, so the goal, well, currently, just to give you an idea of where we're at right now, just with the restructuring and kind of nailing down the systems that needed to exist within the team, we did, I think it was about 15 million last year in 2021, and so far this year we're sitting at about 13 million as a team, and so not a ton of dips in that sense, but we did lose agents, and so I would call it a wash in the sense of like commissionable dollars coming in that sense, and number of people that we've assisted. So going into 2023, which is crazy to say, we're coming up on 2023.
Yeah.
We're shooting for doing about 25 million is what we're ideally, that's the number we'd love to go after, which based off of our numbers would be assisting in the ballpark of about 100 to 115 people when it comes to buying and selling a home.
Love it. I love it. And going back to what you said, your production from 2021 to 2022, maybe you end up at the same, but that 15 million under this model is a lot more profitable than the model before, I'd have to imagine.
It definitely is. And honestly, man, the thing that I'm feeling more than anything is I feel like when you plug people into a role that they're able to go in and chip away at, and they enjoy it. It's almost more rewarding in a sense too. Like you're seeing people able to accomplish something because they actually are excited about it. They're not just coming in here and feeling like they have to learn something in order to exist within this team or grow as a real estate agent. They're going in, they have a specific job to do. And for those who quite honestly would rather have the 9 to 5, but be a part of something other than a teacher or whatever it might be, I've noticed that it's more rewarding for those individuals on the team too.
Yeah, for sure. And, obviously you and I are in the same market, and the market is shifting more depending on what market you're in. When you look ahead, or even right now, what are you finding to be the biggest challenges with this market right now?
Besides the interest rates, the biggest thing, the biggest thing right now with it seems like we've been in a market that has had so few sellers and so many purchasers that it's created this mass. I'm willing to pay anything for it, right? The supply is super low. Naturally, the demand is super high. And so what I'm noticing is the number of, specifically right now with it being December, the winter months, we have a tendency to see less people come on the market trying to sell their home. And I think that that's even grown higher because people are looking at the interest rates and going, why would I do that? I just refinanced. I'm at a 2.3% interest rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Why would I move right now? And so it's naturally creating an even bigger dip in the number of sellers that are coming on the market. But the buyers have, for the most part, maintained. But I'm seeing it a little bit more just specifically right now in this quarter of buyers going, you know what, I'm going to wait till the spring. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait till the spring, which although that might be good because the house that you're looking for might come on, the negative is in that sense is you might not actually get the value that you're looking for because there's so many people who are waiting at that point. And we don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen with the interest rates. They could go back up. They could come back down. It's just you have no idea. But to sum that up in the best way possible, it's the supply is remaining so incredibly low that it's difficult. It's difficult, and then the rates go up. It's a rough, but it's not one that it's not an excuse either. That's the other thing for any agent out there. It's really easy to say, well, the rates stink, so I'm going to go home, climb in my bed, and just wait for them to come back down. You can't do that. You just got to be ready. You got to be out there. You got to be having conversations with people. because people still need to sell and buy homes.
Yeah, and that's such a great point. I mean, I always give the point of comparison to what we're dealing with right now to the worst market we've ever seen in 2008. And it's funny. I just had Jeff Glover on the podcast, and we talked about Detroit market in '08. When Detroit filed bankruptcy, and in that year, we still, the country still did 4.5 million sides. There were still 9 million commission checks handed out in the worst real estate market we've ever seen ever. And so to your point, there are people that will continuously buy and sell real estate regardless of rates, regardless of the market. It's just how bad do you want it? So that's a good segue into, I guess, Rory, you probably come across a lot of new real estate agents wanting to get into the business or recently have gotten into the business. With what you know now and all of the hats you've worn and the experiences you've gone through and the battle wounds, what advice are you giving new real estate agents right now that are coming to you for mentorship?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I would take advice from the person who's giving their advice when they started their career, not from where they're at right now. So often I come across agents who are, you know, I just talked to one the other day and I said, hey, the first thing that you should do, regardless of where it is that you end up, whether it's under me or under some other agency, I would highly suggest that you really hone on your skills talking on the phone specifically. And if I were you, I'd focus on for sale by owners. And on the contrary, they're having other agents tell them, no, don't focus on that. What you need to do is really develop your referral sources. Well, for sale by owners, a referral source. So it's honing your skills is I think the biggest thing that you can possibly do coming into the real estate market. Kind of as green as you are as a new agent is hone your skills, have a conversation, having conversations with people revolving around what you know, and so learn as much as you can. Would be the biggest advice that I could give to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because the thing that probably people like to debate the most in our industry is like lead generation. Like, oh, social media works better than cold calling for sale by owners and all this type of debate. But what isn't debatable is once that agent does get to a listing appointment, it's going to come down to their skills, whether or not the person signs the contract. Who cares? Yep. Who cares how they got to the listing appointment? Why does that matter? What matters is that they get to those as often as possible. What does matter, to your point, I think you hit the nail on the head, is does that agent have a skill set that is so compelling that causes sellers to sign a contract? And that is the thing that will determine an agent's success or failure. So, dude, I appreciate you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the group in 2023 and beyond. I think that you have the right model. You certainly have the right mindset, certainly have the right work ethic. And so any last maybe nuggets you may want to leave with the audience before I let you go?
Yeah, for sure. So when I first got started, there's a story in the Bible of the tribe of Israel's out, and this is actually what kind of started everything for me, just in terms of mindset and what it is that I was going after. Tribe of Israel, they had no water for a super long time, and God comes to them and says, "Hey, I want you to start digging ditches." And everybody kind of looked at each other like, "Why are we digging? Why are we going to dig ditches? It hasn't rained. What are we digging ditches for?" And it was only a small number of people that went out and actually started digging. And when God finally brought the rain, they had the water. And so, if there's any encouragement or anything that I would say to you guys is, a lot of times when you've got a shovel in your hand and you're digging holes, you don't see the water yet, but the reality is it's designed to catch it. And so, for those of you who are being discouraged right now in today's market, for those of you who are having a difficult time going out and failing on listing appointments or failing on the phone with having conversations with people, prospecting, continue doing it. Continue digging that ditch, because as soon as the rain starts to come, now you have a ditch full of water, which is what it is that you want. So if anything, keep digging ditches, people.
I love it. Great advice. Rory, thank you so much. Best of luck in 2023, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate you.
Take care.